The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners, EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hey, everybody, this is the Tax Lady, and we got an hour to really give you some great information. You know, when it comes to money and taxes, EG Tax is your place to stop at 3 o'clock on Saturdays because we have the best fresh news for you. This time of year, we we are still going to talk about taxes, but we kind of modify that to do other forms of ways for you to save money. And today is no exception. We have a special guest who's going to help you, most of you that are listening, in an area that maybe you haven't thought about, and we're real happy with that. But before we go into our special guest, I'm Esther Gulius, the Tax Lady from EG Tax. If you hear anything that you'd like to comment about or question, our phone number here in studio is 803-0930, star 930 on our cell phone, and you can text us at 3930. And I got, of course, my non-special guests, my normal people, are Tiffany Fabian. Hey, Tiff.
Hey, boogers. I just plugged myself out. Say hi, Chris, for me.
No, I hear her. Just
Oh, she can't hear you.
Okay, and Christopher Fabian.
I was
Hello,
saying,
Esther.
And happy belated Mother's Day, I wanted to say.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yes.
And, okay, so let's talk about, before we get to our subject, which is how to get money tax-free, right? That should pique everybody's attention.
Sounds good to me.
Let's talk about our upcoming seminar because we are almost full, right?
We are. There's like 46 people, and so we have room for a few more, and it's a great opportunity. It's June 1st. It starts at 10, goes to 2. We're going to talk about tax planning, of course. We're going to talk about estate planning with Jeff Katz and Mark Baer, attorneys at law. We're going to have Dennis Kitchen there talking about healthcare proxies. Tim Eliason talking about Medicare and healthcare and the New York State Health Exchange. Mike Hayfleck from the Financial Guys talking about Social Security, when you should take it, should you wait? Jordan from KeyBank talking about investments, a different point of view. Russ Gullo, investment properties, and assisted living and nursing with Connie Sifa, and service assessment with Roxanne Sorensen from Elder Care Solutions. And then our guest, Don Griebner, talking about property taxes and how to look at your property taxes realistically, and should you consider, trying to get an lowered assessment if you can.
But here's the really cool thing. This is a workshop. So we want you to bring your things in, like your bank statements and your investment statements and your wills, and you get to talk to these one-on-one. You're going to have like a taste of wills, a taste of estates. One-on-one, these professionals, these consummate professionals are here for EG Tax to help you so that you walk out with so you have a real handle on your finances. And we say ready, set, retire, but it's in all state. I mean, we're all looking for the time that we're all retired, and you want to make sure that, but in between there's all these things. Is my will updated? Should I have a will?
Healthcare proxy.
Healthcare. How do I get into a nursing home? How much does a nursing home cost? What's the 5-year look back? All that kind of stuff. How to read my investment statements. Should I take Social Security? I mean, all of these things we're going to handle in our workshop. So that's so important. And so if you want to be the last few people that are going to be in our seminar, you can register online at egtax.com, or you can call us and talk to Tammy on Monday at 632-7886. But I will tell you, we're really excited about this because it's one thing to sit under somebody who's talking, right? And you kind of go, but you don't understand how it relates to you. This is great because we're going to help you to understand how the law affects your individual situation, and that's what we're so excited about.
Yep,
right?
because not one situation is the same as the other, and you really have to take it individually and peel it apart and look at the different layers.
Right. So before we get to you let the cat out of the bag, we have Donald Griebner, who's from Real Property Service, excuse me, in Amherst. He is a property tax guru to help us reduce our property taxes so that when you don't have to pay money in property taxes, you're saving money, and that's a tax-free thing. So we want to, Don is going to be with us on the other side of our break, but right now before I get to Don, I wanted to give you some things that you can get tax-free, and that would be selling your stuff. A lot of people this time of year have garage sales.
Yep, they sure do. There was a few I drove by today. I remember our old house, Chris. There was that
the storage unit.
Yeah, the storage unit. They had a big garage sale. People brought all their stuff and were selling it for tax-free money.
When you sell your personal items, and let's face it, at a loss, because you paid $3,000 for the couch or $2,000 for the couch, and you can get $1,000 for it. That's tax-free money. You can also get cash value from your life insurance policy many times. That's tax-free money. Gifts that you get, no matter how much, as long as it's a gift. Now, the donor is limited before they have to file a gift tax return, right, Chris?
Right. Limited the gift tax return now is $15,000 per person. Right. So if you give under that, there's nothing to do. If you give over that for a single person, you have to do that. I forgot the form.
The 706?
709.
709.
But someone that receives a gift, it's completely tax-free no matter how much it is. If the donor gives more than $15,000 per person per year, then they have to do a gift tax return. But it adjusts the unified exclusion, so which is a gigantic figure, $14 million, $15 million. So most people giving gifts are not going to have that affect them at the end of their life when they have to file an estate return, because there's not that many people that have estates that size. So that's tax-free. You can also borrow money. Borrowed money's tax-free.
That's cool.
Right?
Yep.
And if your standard deduction, if the income that you have that's taxable is under that standard deduction amount, you can take money out of your annuity or your IRA tax-free as well, and that's where tax planning comes in, right?
Yes. Oh, there's tons of tax planning going in. You got to look at everything before, the best thing you could take out of right now is before you do anything, call us.
That's right. And speaking of calling us, if you're somebody that would like to talk to us about saving money, taking money for free, how to get money out, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. And the last thing I have to say right here to get free money is to sell your personal residence. If you have a home that you've lived in 2 out of the last 5 years and you're single, the first $250,000 of the sale gain is tax-free. If you're filing a joint return, it's $500,000. Right?
That's pretty cool.
So every 2 years, you could buy and sell a home completely tax-free. And our phone number here in studio, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. And right now, Don Griebner from Real Property Service is in studio, and on the other side of the break, he's going to tell you, when we're talking about our theme here, how to get free money, about his services, how to reduce the property taxes that you're paying on your personal home, should you need his services. And we're going to talk to him, pick his brain. Give him a call, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on your cell phone. Text us at 3930. On the other side, Don Griebner will be with us. Well, that's a very mild song for Frank. Oh, there it is. Okay, Frank, you're going to disappoint me. Okay, so, something to dance for. When we really are happy, that makes us think about how happy we are. We have our special guest, Don Griebner. Hey, Don, thank you for coming to Ask the Tax Lady. And
thank
we
you,
want
Esther.
to
So
pick
nice
your
to be
we
here
want to
and-
prick
Yep.
we want to pick your brain.
Well, please do. It's an honor to be here. You always help your clients so much, and I'm just glad to be a part of it and hope I can help them with my specialty as well. So thank you.
All right. Well, now let's talk first about exactly what you do.
Sure.
So we have a lot of homeowners that are probably driving to church right now, out and about, listening at
Yep.
home, that say, "Yeah, Sherry's going to save me property taxes." How does it work? What do you do?
Okay, well, thank you. I'm a real estate appraiser and have been for over 30 years. I'm certified for all property types in New York State. So I help not only homeowners, but business property owners, industrial property owners, all types of properties. And what I do is, it goes back 20 years now, and I formed Real Property Services. I used to sit on the assessment review board in the town of Amherst. And that experience for 3 days of listening to people come through the grievance process and present their case to try and get their property assessments lowered, I saw people needed help in the process. And I decided I wanted to do it risk-free, where they didn't have to put upfront money in and see if we got results. So what I do now is I represent property owners of all types in assessment appeals, and I only charge if we're successful. I charge 1/2 of what I can save them in taxes for the first year. So I like to say,
That's a deal.
If you don't save, you don't pay. And there's only two answers I can give them. One is you're fairly assessed. You are not paying too much in taxes, and you can feel safe in that. The other answer is I think you're overassessed, and I can help you lower your taxes. So either way, I think they come out ahead.
And it's especially important right now because isn't the time for opening up an appeal kind of coming to an end right now?
Well, it's right around the corner, so the timing is perfect. In the towns throughout Erie and Niagara County, most of the towns have the fourth Tuesday in May as their grievance day, which is 10 days from today. Now, some towns are a little different because some towns share assessors and they have to go on different nights or whatever. But so call your town and make sure, but it's right around the corner. So if people are thinking that they might want to grieve their assessment, challenge their assessment this year, they still have time. Not a lot of time, but they still have time.
Okay, so what's the process? I mean, they call you on Monday and say, I really think that I'm overpaying.
Well,
Is
exactly.
that pretty much it?
That's where it starts. And there's some red flags. When I sat on the review board, Esther, people would come in and say, well, my taxes are here, or my assessment is higher than my neighbor's, or I've been increased twice in the past 5 years. And I would say, stop. Those are not the arguments that are going to win the case. Those are red flags. Those are, to me, saying we need to look further. But the question has to do with value. What's the value of your property? Taxes are just a byproduct of the assessment times the tax rate. But the assessment is supposed to be based on market value. So I always ask them the question, if your house or your property was up for sale and someone offered you what it's assessed at, would you accept that? And I'll tell you right now, 95% of the people or more would say, no, I would expect to get more. Well, that means you don't have an assessment problem. You may not like the taxes you're paying, but it's not based on your assessed value. So we have to just get them focused. It's an emotional issue, and I try to rein them in a little bit and focus on market value.
Okay, now besides do you also help them like with their star exemption and things of that nature, or is that something outside of the scope of what you do?
Well, I get asked that often, and I always defer to the individual towns because there's always a specialist in the town assessor's office who will answer their question, provide them forms, let them know the deadlines for filing, assist them in filling out the paperwork. They are wonderful at doing that. So I will give them guidance, but I won't actually do that for them because they're better served by going directly to the town.
And we can do that at our office too, help with this.
Yep.
I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, Ask the Tax Lady. And right now we have our special guest in studio, Don Griebner from Real Property Services. His job is to help you to save taxes on your home or your business. And if you have any questions, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. Our text number is 3930, and you can pick Don's brain. I will tell you, we have a success story to share with.
Yes, we do.
Don really saved our tushies because we're our brand new building on Colvin was way off. wasn't it, Don?
It was, and that was a perfect example of an owner of the property who also had his business in there. So he was much more interested in running his business and how that was operating, and you wouldn't expect him, being a professional, to understand real estate values. And therefore, he kind of let it slip by and didn't pay attention to his assessed value, and he was overpaying his taxes for years and years by quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah. So,
I mean, tens of thousands of dollars. I
Right.
mean, it was a lot of money, and I think as a result, the property probably languished in the for sale market because nobody wanted to pay those kind of property taxes, and we were so thankful to get a hold of Don, who helped us, and he was so professional. And I have to thank the people in Tonawanda as well, because they received Don's assessment and review of our property taxes, and it saved us a lot of money. And I will tell you, if you're out there and you think that your property may be overassessed, this is the person you want to talk to. Your phone number, Don, is 634-8977, right?
exactly right. Yes, thank you.
634-8977 is Don Griebner's phone number from Real Property Services, and I will tell you from personal experience what a blessing it is to have a professional like this who the city respects as well.
Well, that's it. So much of what I do is based on relationships. I've done this for so long, and I have the license and I have the experience, but the relationships really are what bring it all together. And I think the assessors trust me, and I've been honest and truthful and upfront with them through the years, so they know when I bring them something, it has merit. And that's what I tell folks. If they come to me and say, Chris and I were just talking, what if there's a house that's assessed at $325? Do you go in and try and get it down to $320? And I said, no, I would never do that, because no one is that good. I don't want to split hairs. I don't want to be a burden to the assessors or their staff or their grievance board. But when a case has merit, the assessors are willing to listen, because they really have the same goal that we do, and that's to put the fair market value on the property. So we're working together.
I think what you said is really true, is when an assessment goes up, and so you think to yourself, okay, when a price is going up, you want more services. And I thought that was really poignant when you said that. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
Well,
I'm Esther Gulias, the tax lady, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone, and our text is 3930. I'm sorry, Don, I think I stepped on you. You were
Not at
saying
all.
something.
I was just going to interject here. Most people have the misconception that when assessments go up, more revenue is generated. In other words,
you have a secret that's coming up for the city of Buffalo, don't you?
Well, we're going to get there in a minute, yes. But the premise is, people say, well, it's a money grab. The town or the city, they want more money, or the schools or the county. Let me just set the record straight. And I'll use this example because we're sitting right now in an Amherst studio. If the town of Amherst doubled every assessment right now in the town, how much more money would the town generate in tax revenue?
A lot,
I
right?
have no idea.
You would think zero. Not one penny, not one dime. Same with the school district, same with the county. And here's why.
Well, somebody gets the money.
Well, it's the same amount of money. It's just going to be collected differently. So the mathematical formula is each of the budgets for the school, the town, and the county, those are the three taxing jurisdictions, each of them has a budget, and within that budget is a levy. The tax levy is what's going to be collected through property taxes. Now, that amount is set. It gets divided to the individual property owners based on assessment. So the same amount of money is going to be collected whether the assessments double or get cut in half. If they double, then the tax rate will just get cut in half and everybody will pay the same amount. And people scratch their head and say, now, wait a minute, my assessment went up and my taxes went up. I said, yes, because your individual assessment went up. My example was if everybody's assessment went up. So now you're paying a little more, somebody else is going to be paying a little less because the tax rate would come down. But it's very simple math. It's the budget divided by assessment equals the tax rate. But raising assessments does not create more revenue. So
is that what they call the millage rate?
Correct. The millage rate is the tax rate per thousand.
So then, but then if you raise somebody's assessment and the millage was X amount of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
if they raise the millage next year by $1,
Right.
that means that your taxes are going to go up,
Right.
right?
But let's get back to the formula. They don't raise the millage rate. The millage
don't.
rate is a byproduct of the budget or the levy divided
Okay,
by
so
the assessed
if they
value.
say that we need more money,
They raise the budget.
then
'cause
they
that's-
raise the millage rate.
No, they don't. Well, it would if the assessments stayed the same and they raised budgets to generate more money for the school or town or county, then yes, the millage rate would go up. Hopefully, the assessment base goes up as well as the spending always goes up, and it kind of
Always.
keeps the rates in line. And that's where a revaluation of an entire town can bring a tax rate down considerably because assessments are raised, they become more fair and equitable, and then the millage rate will come down. But two different things. Assessments and taxes are not the same. We focus on value. We focus on property value and what's equitable and fair, what you could sell your property for, and the taxes become a byproduct of that. But you had mentioned the city of Buffalo, so that's probably a good segue here.
Well,
of
what
what's
we're going
coming
to do
up.
here is we're going to break for the news here in a minute, but I wanted to let everybody know you're listening to Ask the Tax Lady. I'm Esther Gillius, the Tax Lady. We have special guests today, Don Griebner from Real Property Service. His job is to take a look at your assessment and make sure that you're assessed properly on your personal residence or business. And this guy is really a genius because he certainly did help us. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with your questions. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on your cell phone, and 3930 on the text line, and we'll see you on the other side of the news. Hey, that's music to save money by. I'm Esther Gillius, the Tax Lady. Our phone number here in studio, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. And if you're driving in your car and you're paying property taxes, this is the guy you want to get to know. If you think you're being overassessed, it's Don Griebner from Real Property Services. His phone number, 634-8977. You can get him by just Googling Don Griebner, Real Property Service, and you'll see his phone number and information. He's over in Amherst, and we're so thankful that he's here in studio with us. Hey, Don, so let's
Thank you,
talk
Esther.
about what's happening to the city of Buffalo.
Sure. The city of Buffalo is now assessing properties at a rate of 64%, meaning they've gone so many years without reassessing that the value of their assessments now, based on statistical analysis, reflects only 64% of what the real value is. Well, the city, after, I don't know if it's 15, 20 years, is going through a complete citywide revaluation. And what that means is this year, they are going to send letters out to every property owner in the city of Buffalo telling them what their new assessment will be at full market value. And these letters will be mailed out the first week of August. And then people will have a chance to respond to that. Now, the nice part about a revaluation, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons, but when you have a revaluation, the municipality gives you time to come in for what's called informal reviews. So it's not just the assessment review board, which would be overwhelmed by the grievances. They'll give you a couple of months after the August letters come out to come in, meet with representatives of either the city or the revaluation company, and just submit any data or evidence or pictures that you have to say, I think you overassessed me. They'll take that back, respond to you by the 1st of December, and then you've got the grievance board that goes through its normal process. But it's going to be eye-opening because it's been so long since the city's done it, but I think it's needed. I think it's essential for the equity of assessments and taxes in the city of Buffalo, and I think it's about time, quite
Well,
honestly.
you know, because we do tax returns, and so we look at what people pay in property taxes because it's an itemized deduction. You guys, Tiff and Chris, you've seen people that only pay $200 in taxes, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm in the middle of doing an offer in compromise right now for somebody who lives in Buffalo, and their taxes are like $900. Sure. Yeah, very.
Or I have one couple whose taxes are like $125. I mean, they're really cheap, and so I think to myself, well, what's wrong with this picture?
Well, usually that's based on exemptions. If you just took what's called the true tax, which is the assessed value of the property times the tax rate, it would probably be much higher than the numbers you just quoted. These folks probably qualify for anything from senior exemptions or income or veterans, or there's a litany of exemptions that you can qualify for. That would bring them down that low.
Now, is that something that the homeowner has to go to petition the city for, or is that something they would contact you about? Maybe they don't. I mean, the sad thing is, that somebody would be paying $250 on one side of the street, and across the street they're paying $2,000 because maybe somebody's unaware of it.
Well, if they're unaware, then that truly is unfortunate. The best thing to do is call your taxing authority, your municipality, and just ask them, do I qualify? What do I have to do? What's the timing to submit the forms? But the other thing people have to realize, and I tell my wife that she's a realtor, and I talk to her office at office meetings, and I say to all the realtors, tell your folks that if they buy a property, that the seller has these exemptions that you and Tiffany are referring to that might bring their taxes really low, but you, the buyer, wouldn't qualify for those exemptions.
Then they go up.
Well, not only will they go, you'll lose them the next year as you should, you won't get the exemption, you're going to have to repay any pro rata time you owned that house during the year that you were getting the benefit of that exemption. Now, that doesn't apply to the star exemption, so let's get that off the table. But if they had a veterans or a senior or a clergy or whatever, and you don't qualify, you're going to have to repay it. So they should be prepared for that.
Now, is there a list that is available for people to see about all the potential credits or deductions against their property taxes that they could, that maybe you could provide to us? So, because we talk to people all the time about their taxes, their income taxes, but we also see what they pay in property taxes so that we can kind of steer them.
Well, every assessor's office has a list of all the exemptions that are
And it's all
available.
different by city?
And well, most of them are the same. It's just it's administered in each assessor's office. So it's a town or city administering of the exemption process.
So that's what that's what we got to do on Monday. We have to find that out because I'm sure people are going to call us on Monday and say, "I was listening to your show on Saturday. Help."
And that's what we want them to do, Esther. That's what you do, and that's what I do. We provide people with guidance, whether we can help them hands-on or give them advice to contact someone that can help them hands-on. We make sure they get the help and the benefit that they deserve. And that's why I love being on this show, because you're reaching out and offering your clients a service that they're not even expecting. So thank you for that.
Oh, all right. So let's say somebody's sitting, going to church. What's a red flag that says,
Okay,
I
good.
better call Don?
Good. Well, and here's what I'll say to the folks in the city of Buffalo. There's not much you can do until you know what your new assessment's going to be, or so you would think. But what I would say is you're not going to receive this letter till the first week of August. So between now and then, just think about, or maybe do a little due diligence research as to what you think your property is worth. Now, I know you're not an appraiser and you're not a realtor, you're not in that business, but you can do a little research. What are homes selling for in my neighborhood? What are some of the listings that I see when I'm driving around? You can certainly get on the websites and see what activities going on in your area and get a reasonable range of value for your property. So when the letter comes August 1st and you say, I thought the reasonable range was 100 to 120, right in that range, and you get your assessment and said 100, you say, you know what, I'm on the right side of this. This is fine. But you've already done the due diligence, where if you get the letter and hadn't thought about it, then maybe it'll be a little shocking and you're going to have an emotional response rather than one that's really benefited from some research.
And with all of the technology out there today, you got Zillow, where you can look up any home out there.
Yep.
Most of Erie County, you can look up property taxes.
Absolutely.
Niagara County, there's a couple cities where you can look up property taxes, but it's all public knowledge.
Sure, it is. And what you want to focus on are sales, not comparable assessments, not comparable taxes, even listings, because they're really not consummated sales yet. Look for the closed sales of properties like yours in your neighborhood as best you can, but you can get a pretty good feel.
So when people, people will say to me, "Well, I don't want to remodel my kitchen because it's going to make my assessment go up." Is that something that's where somebody says, "Well, my next door neighbor just put $100,000 into
Right.
remodeling. Sure, his house is worth $250,000, but I haven't done anything to my house. It's the way it was. It's the way it was in 1920 when it was first built."
Sure.
Is that something
Realistic?
that you kind of can hang your hat on?
Absolutely. And that's where, when I go in front of an assessment review board or to an assessor's office, my goal is to educate them. I want to tell them something they don't already know. They know your square footage and probably accurate on your bedroom and bathroom count, the size of your lot and the size of your garage and all that. What they don't know is, have you remodeled your kitchen? Have you done your bathrooms? So interior pictures mean so much when you go into these meetings and hearings. So I never advise people not to do something for fear of having their assessment raised. That's a personal decision they have to make. I'm there to tell them that if we educate the assessor properly, they'll see that your assessment is too high, but this is what we have to do to get to that point.
Okay, talking about remodeling, one of the big things we get a lot of phone calls on is solar panels. And people are amazed that it really doesn't impact the sale value of their house, which I'm sure your wife probably could tell you. But does it affect the assessment? Would that be an impact?
From what I understand, the assessors are not raising assessments on properties with solar panels. They're treating it now. Sales. See, look at an individual house. If it has solar panels, when it sells, is it going to sell for more? I'm glad you brought this up, Chris, because what I always tell the realtors to tell their buying clients is to be prepared for your assessment to go to purchase price at some point in the future. Now, not all towns are going to reassess you immediately. They're not allowed to do that. But some who are at 100% of value and maintain 100%, they might reassess you immediately. But a buyer should go into the purchase with their eyes wide open, understanding that their assessment could and probably will go right up to purchase price.
Okay, so, but the thing, going back to your original thing of the mathematical equation, and we need this much money, we have this many houses, this is our percentage, and so this is the millage rate, and this is how much you're going to pay.
Right.
So what you're saying is that the millage rate is going to go down because the assessments are going up?
Absolutely, that's correct. It'll go down significantly, so it's going to offset this huge increase in assessment. Remember, they're at 64% of value right now. So if they just went to 100, the equivalent of 100 for everybody, it would basically remain the same.
But it does seem like kind of a shell game. Like we're raising the assessment, and you're really not going to pay more taxes.
You're very astute, Esther. You're very astute. And I call this sometimes the stealth tax, where you don't really know it's being slipped in there. But that is on the spending side. We're focusing right now in this conversation, in this show, on the assessment side.
Right.
So we're looking at values.
That's your job.
Whatever the budget is passed, that's not what we're talking about.
All right, let's go to the phones. We have Marcia. Hey, Marcia from Lockport. How can we help you, Marcia?
Yeah, hi. I was just listening to your radio show, and I heard him say something about being able to challenge your property taxes. How do I do that?
Well, every year the city or town that you live in has a grievance day, and you're allowed to call and make an appointment to go in, fill out a grievance form, which is right online, or they'll help you fill it out, and explain to the review board why you feel that the assessment on your house is higher than what you could really sell it for. So you need to, number one, find out what the deadline is, and they're coming up pretty soon for most of the towns in Erie and Niagara County. But your assessor's office will help you with the deadline, the form, making an appointment. And if you need professional help or guidance, that's where you can call me, and I can go over your case with you.
You don't charge unless she has her property taxes
Marcia.
lowered.
Marcia could call me on Monday, and we could talk through your whole case, and I could give you my opinion on the merits of your case, whether I think it's worthy or not, and if I can help you or not. And if we don't do any work for you, obviously there's no cost. If I did work for you and I couldn't get your assessment lowered, there's no cost for you.
And it doesn't matter how long she's lived there, if she's a brand new property owner, if she's lived there for a long time, does it make any difference?
It does, and that's the first question I ask clients when they call. I would say, Marcia, how long have you lived in your house? Well, 18 months. Well, what did you pay? Well, $185,000. Well, what did your assessment go up to? Well, $185,000. I said, well,
Marcia, how long have you lived in your house? May I ask?
10 years.
10 years.
Okay. Well, then that's far enough removed from any purchase price for that to be relevant. So what we would talk about, Marcia, is if you put your house on the market today, what's a reasonable expectation for you to sell it at? And it has to do with condition and amenities and upgrades and your neighborhood and all types of issues. But that's what we talk about. But every year you have the opportunity to challenge your assessment. And what I tell folks is don't wait for the grievance day to go in front of the grievance board. I start my process. I mean, if May 28th is grievance day, I'm talking to the assessors February 1st. Let's see if we can maybe negotiate this and not even have to go through the long, drawn-out process of grievance.
All right.
How do we find out when our grievance time is? Do we call the town, or is it on their website somehow?
a lot of times they don't have it on their website, surprisingly. But if you want to call me on Monday, we can identify all that, or you can call your town assessor's office directly and just ask them. But the towns in Erie County are fourth Tuesday in May, and a lot of the towns in Niagara County as well. Cities are
I'm in
different.
Niagara County.
Yeah. Is it the town of Lockport?
Kinda. It's like near Lewiston, between Lockport and Lewiston.
Okay. Well, I'm guessing it's coming up soon, so, but we need to identify exactly where you are and what the date is, but...
And Don's phone number is 634-8977, 634-8977.
Or my website is loweryourpropertytaxes.com. So.
That's
That
easy.
is so good. Good name.
Yeah, thank you.
Good name.
Thank you,
I'm Esther
Marcia.
Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back on the other side with Don Griebner from Real Property Service to help you reduce your property taxes. And we're going to see you on the other side.
Might want to tell.
Now that's some mellow music.
Well, it's not
music
summer
break.
yet, Frank. It's close. We understand, but
Yes, that's true. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax. We are joined in studio with Don Griebner from Real Property Services, who is a real property tax specialist whose job is to help you to pay less in property taxes if your house is not assessed properly. And we are, and I get this, he only charges you half of what he saves you. So you were going to pay the money anyway. So I'm going to tell you, and he did. We could not be in our building right now on Colvin if it wasn't for Don, because we couldn't have. The taxes that were assessed on this building initially was just astronomical. I don't think I thought maybe the Taj Mahal was hiding in the basement. But
you know, it's
I mean, we
interesting 'cause
couldn't have
some-
afforded our building without him.
Yeah.
And he went to the city and they said, "Oh, I guess you're right." You know, he was wonderful.
Thank you, Esther. And you know, it's a compounded problem because not only did, in your case and in many other cases as well, not only was the assessment high, but the tax rate in certain municipalities is pretty high, especially those that are a little older, more stable, that don't have new construction to add to the assessment base. So their assessment total isn't growing. Their budget certainly is, because they always grow, so their tax rates are very high. So when you compound an overassessment times a high tax rate, you really get walloped.
You know, and the thing is, I was looking the other day online that New York State is like the 8th highest in tax percentage, income tax, but the 3rd highest in property taxes.
Sure.
In the United States. And so when you parlay those two things together, you know, it ends
It's
up
an
being
expensive
a
place to
very
live.
expensive, and really, who wants to overpay their property taxes? And here's somebody that can help you to at least you have a friendly person who says, you know what, we can help you. And I will tell you, when we were looking at our building and we needed to move, and those of you that have been on Niagara Falls Boulevard know how tight we were. We needed to move, and this was like a building from heaven from us, but we said, well, we can't afford it because we can't afford the property taxes. You know, could this be wrong? Because boy, oh boy, you know, and he was just wonderful.
I have a text question. It says, what happens when the houses in the neighborhood keep getting bought and sold in the last year? Does that affect what I have to pay in taxes?
Well, what it does is it triggers the assessor's office to focus on the neighborhood. When you get a sufficient number of sales, you can reassess. They tend not to reassess neighborhoods where they don't have much sales data to work with. But number one, it educates everybody. It educates the property owners in the neighborhood, and it educates the assessor as to what the values are. So it gives you a much clearer picture. If you're in a neighborhood that hasn't had transactions for a long time, you really don't know what they're going to sell for. So you at least have that benefit. Now, does it help you or hurt you? I can't say, but it
Crystal
certainly
ball.
educates you. But it also educates the assessor. So I always say if your neighborhood has multiple sales that are showing that you're underassessed, then you're probably in store for an assessment increase. But on the other side, that means your property's worth more. So
Right.
it's
So
not
it would-
always a bad thing.
I would believe this texter's talking more about flipping houses. That you see these flippers, you know, they buy low and then they sell high.
I mean, look what's happened on the west side of Buffalo, or in Buffalo.
On Elmwood
proper.
and-
I mean, it's remarkable. Some of these houses, I had a client the other day who paid at auction $35,000, maybe 10 years ago, for this house. And it's true, she put about $75,000 into it, but she sold it for $350,000.
Sure.
Because the kids want to be downtown, know, and so the city of Buffalo is benefiting by increased property values. That's a good thing.
It's a wonderful thing. There's a resurgence in Buffalo it's been a renaissance. Now, with that comes higher property values. There's such a shortage of inventory available for sale on the market that there's bidding wars these days. Again, is it a good thing? I think it is because there's strong demand, and it's always the economy's good, interest rates are low, so it's kind of the perfect storm. But as I say to assessors, though, you can't assess at the peak, and you don't want to assess at the bottom. You have to. There's a reasonable range. You should be in the middle or lower end and be conservative because who knows what's going to happen even a year from now. So
Don, let's say that your next door neighbor is not really up on cutting grass and taking care of their
you
place.
know my neighbors. Okay.
And I mean, is this something? I mean, it has to affect the ability of you to sell your house.
Well, here's where I say we need to educate the assessor or the assessment review board. The difficulty in your example, Esther, is that problem can be remedied pretty quickly. Either someone buys that house next door and starts taking better care of it, or it's taking better care of whatever. It's a very temporary and loosey-goosey kind of problem. But what I would do is take pictures, go into the assessment review board and say, who's going to approach my house to buy it if I go to sell it? This is hurting my value. It's hurting my quality of living here, all of these things. And what I'm guessing is that they would recognize it and probably take you to the lower end of the range. But they'd also keep an eye on it in case things change in the future. But those are difficult cases because they can, change from year to year. And
they don't get mad at you. I wouldn't want
That's
somebody to think, I'm not going to call Don because what if they get mad at me and next year they really raise my assessment?
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because so many people get so emotional with this, argument. They say, you have to go in and fight for me. I said, no, I don't. I do not fight with assessors. We try to come to the same reasonable conclusions. We work together. We share data. I educate them. They educate me. We come to what we think is reasonable. Now, that doesn't always mean that the client is going to win the case because maybe they don't deserve to win it. But I will tell my client this, the more emotional you are, the less chance you have of winning because you're now focused on the wrong issues. This is a pretty straightforward valuation analysis, and that's where it should focus.
Now, is there more fluctuation maybe on commercial properties? Because,
absolutely.
Let's face it, the malls, it's a sad thing. Brick and mortar is really a problem because people are buying things online. So the Boulevard Mall, the Eastern Hills Mall, that used to be like a dynamic place to do your business. You have a place next door and the place is going out of business next to you. It has to affect your ability.
Oh, it's a ripple effect because so many of the stores are there because of the crowds drawn from the other stores. And then it's a domino effect. As one leaves, the next one leaves. And it's very difficult, with the online sales. But from my perspective, I look at the sales and the values and the income and expense analysis. And I'm going through that right now with one of the local malls, which I won't mention, but I'm meeting with the assessor who is very understanding of the plight of this mall and willing to work. It's almost like I said to the assessor, the town has to be a partner in this process because if you will work with us, we will work to rejuvenate this.
Well, it's almost exactly what happened on our property on Colvin.
Right.
It had set vacant for a long time, and obviously vacant properties are not good for anybody, for the community or anything. And so, we're redoing the parking lot, we're making it look nice. It's good for the residents.
Drawing people to the area.
Right.
Sure. And it was also a misclassified building, not to get too technical, but the town recognized it as a medical building. Well, that's no longer the purpose of the building. So by changing classifications, we could change comparable sales and per square foot values and rentals, all those things.
Right.
So all those things came
But
together.
I would think that people that are looking at commercial property especially, I know everybody thinks it's their personal residence, and that's obviously things that you do too, but I think that commercial property really could be a benefit of using your service because there are major changes in malls and
Right.
and vacancy rates and things of
Well,
that
that's
nature.
right, Esther.
And I'm going to tell you, if you're running a business, all of that's important.
And the assessor has the least information on the commercial properties because there's income and expenses and there's vacancy. They know nothing about that. They probably don't even know the full configuration of the inside. Where on houses, it's usually a little more, cookie cutter, neighborhood, whatever. Not the commercial properties. They're all individual and unique, and that's where we really stand a chance to educate the assessor and get some nice reductions.
And I think that's what you said, Don said initially, that business owners are so busy just trying to make their business run that they stop to take a look at these other aspects and ways of saving money, which is really important. And I think, Esther, you always do a really good job of that. So, sorry.
Well, but the whole thing is, when you take a look at solving a problem, finding the professional to be with you to solve the problem is the whole key, because if you don't have anybody to turn to, then it's just you alone with your problem, and maybe you say, forget it, I'll just pay it. And so here we are. We have Don Griebner from Real Property Service. He can help you whether you have a personal residence, rental property, commercial property that you feel like, gee, these property taxes don't seem fair to me. I look at this assessment, it doesn't seem right, and he charges half of what he saves you. There's no charge if he doesn't save you anything. And so what was so great about doing this show is we thought, we're all about saving people money. And people complain about their property taxes all the time. So here's an opportunity for you to be with a great professional who's going to basically not charge you anything unless he saves you something, and it's only on the first year. And Don's phone number is 634-8977. And Don, you said that grievance date is coming up.
It is. It's right around the corner. 10 days from today, the 28th, in most of the towns in Erie and Niagara County.
Well, you will be a busy buckaroo then, won't you?
I'm going back to work.
Okay, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady. Give us a shout if you are coming to our Ready, Set, Retire seminar, which is going to be held the 1st of June. You can register online, call us, and Don, you're going to be there, right?
I will be there. Thank you so much, Esther.
All right, thank you for joining us. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax. See you next Saturday. Have a great week.